Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on classwork 10-2. And we're really going to be looking at just estimating fractions here, or products of fractions, I should say. So we know from the past that compatible numbers are really our friends. They make our lives so much easier. Compatible numbers can be used to find estimates of problems pretty quickly. Okay, we're going to be rounding and using compatible numbers in order to estimate products then. So let's start with example 1 here. If we have about 1/3 of the containers of a yogurt in a box are strawberry, if the box contains 17 containers, about how many containers are strawberries? Well, I look at this problem here and I think 1/3 times 17, if I'm estimating this, there's nothing really compatible here. So I look at my denominator, which remember denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction, and I see that it's a 3. So I'm not going to change that 3. I'm going to make this whole number become compatible with 3. So now I think, gosh, fact family, what's something close to 17 that has a 3 in it? And I know now that I could use 18. Okay, so if I change that 17 to an 18, which remember it's okay because I'm estimating, right? So now if I have 1/3 times 18, that's a lot easier to do. So now let's rewrite it over here. I have 1/3 times 18. Okay, and remember that 18 is going to go on the top because it's a whole number, and every whole number really has an invisible 1 underneath it, right? So if I look at my problem now, I have 1 times 18 is 18, and 3 times 1 is 3. So my answer is going to be 18 divided by 6 is, 18 divided by 3 is 6. Now, what I should have done here is put the little heat wave estimating lines because this isn't an exact answer, is it? It's a close answer. So if I look at my original problem back up here, if the box contains 17 containers, about how many are strawberry? About 6. About 6 will be strawberry. Okay, so that's where the 6 comes down here. All right, so remember this helpful hint. These are always really quite helpful. So 1/3 times 18 is the same as 18 divided by 3. Okay, so let's move on to another example. All right, so come on up top up here again, and we have now a harder problem, really, because if you look at this, we want to estimate 2/5 times 6/7, and I see nothing really compatible in there. I don't see anything that really is going to help us much. So we're going to use our benchmark fractions so that we can estimate and round to get to the best part. So it's nice that they drew a little number line for you here. So if you look at 2/5, 2/5 is very close to 2 out of 4, right? So that gets us right about this half mark. So they rounded 2/5 to 1/2, and I totally agree with doing that. I think it's a great option, right? Then they had 6/7, and if you look on that number line, it's right here. That's awfully close to 7/7, which is about 1. So now we're going to take this problem and change it into 1/2 times 1, which, hey, we can do that, can't we? So 1/2 times 1, well, hey, don't we know that anything times 1 is always going to be itself? So what's going to be our answer here? It's going to be 1/2. Okay? So even though that one looked hard, once you think about it, it really isn't that hard, okay? All right, let's go down to this bottom one. This one looks a lot worse to me. Like I look at this and I'm like, oh, there's a lot going on. But really, there's not. Most of you know that if I am going to round two numbers, I will oftentimes round one up and round one down so that I get a more exact answer. I get a closer answer. So in this case, I'm going to look at this 7 and 2 sevens and be like, 2 out of 7 isn't very much. It's really not even close to half. So I'm going to keep 7 and 2 sevens. I'm going to put that as just 7, a whole number 7. And if I look at 3 and 7 eighths, 7 out of 8 is awfully close to 8 out of 8. So I'm going to round that one up to 4. Okay. Now my problem is 7 times 4, which we know 7 times 4 is about 28. Okay. So if you look at these, they're not too bad, but you can't let it intimidate you when you see big numbers or you see things that aren't compatible. You just have to make them into compatible numbers, okay? So let's check out a couple on your actual work page and see how we do. And I want you to make sure you're working through these with me so that we can really get to a good answer. We'll just actually take all 3 on the top row, because I think they all provide a good example for you guys here. So I look at 2/3 times 13, and this 13 is not a compatible number with a lot of things. So then I'm going to go down to this denominator and say, hey, that's a 3. What whole number could I make this into that would be compatible with 3? That's really close. We don't want to go too high, too low here. So I say, okay, 3 can go into 12, right? So my pen's turned back on. So if I make this then a 12, I now have 2 times 12 is 24. And remember that 3, I should have put a 1 underneath here so you guys could have seen it. It's always a 1 hiding, right? 3 times 1 is 3. So now I know 24 divided by 3 is going to be, you still need these heat waves, the estimate lines, because it's not an exact answer, but it's going to be 8. So that one's not too bad, right? Okay, let's try this one. I think this one, I look at this and I think it's a little harder just because you have to think about those compatible numbers again. But if I know 20 over, is have a 1 under here, right? 3 and 20, I'm looking at compatible numbers here. Hey, I am going to make this into a 21. Could you have done it a different way? Absolutely. You could have made this into a 4, couldn't you? 20 divided by 4, but I'm going to choose 21. So 1 times 21 is 21. 3 times 1 is 3. So now we know 21 divided by 3 is about 7. Okay. All right, and let's just do this last one together and see how it goes. So I'm looking for 33 and 2 to become compatible. Gosh, 33 and 2. There's a couple different ways you could go here. I'm going to choose to make this into a 32 because I know an even number can always be divided by 2. Okay, so 1 times 32 is 32. And 2 times 1 is 2. And that's going to give me about 32 divided by 2 is about 16. Okay. Now, I want to show you a different way to do number 4 just so you can understand that when you're estimating, they're not all going to look exactly the same. Okay. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to try to take this off. Okay. So again, we're trying something different over here on number 4. So if I know, again, that this has a 1 underneath it, okay, what if I just didn't change this one, this 33, But instead, I chose to change the 3 or the 2 into a 3. So 1 times 33 is 33. And 3 times 1 is 3. That would give you an answer of about 11. So you can see that the first answer was 16 and the second answer is 11, and that's a pretty big difference. But the point is, we all are going to round and estimate a little bit differently, because maybe you forgot that 32 could be divided by 2, or maybe you forgot that 33 could be divided by 3. The point is, we really want you to try to find compatible numbers here that'll help you to get a close answer. Not an exact answer, but a close answer. Okay? All right. Good luck. Think about this. Think about compatible numbers. And you've got this. Actually, as I'm looking right here, I see number 6. I'm going to have you guys do number 6 with me really fast too. If I look at 7/8 and 1/9, I think, gosh, this one's really close to a whole number, and this one's really close to 0. So I'm going to change that 7/8 to a 1, and I'm going to change that 1/9 to a 0 because it's practically nothing, isn't it? And what am I going to get at this point? 1 times 0 is 0. It's okay to come up with an answer that's a 0. All right? All right, guys. Good luck.